got backups making debuts. We got private jets crisscrossing all over the Gulf Coast. And we have a team with Super Bowl aspirations currently sitting at 500 with 5 losses. Not great. And a little seam head talk to get us started. Isn't that right, Alex Monaco?
Martin, Ian, always a pleasure, gentlemen. I just got to get off on this rant because I triple-checked, and the first place votes for AL MVP, it was close. It was very close. This was no unanimous Ohtani this, another year that. And I just have to get it off because I'm super bothered, aside from in the betting world, that the Cal Raleigh last-minute horse on the last furlong made a case. But, Martin, when you do something no one's ever done in the sport at the position that is far and away the most demanding defensively, and you do it from both sides of the plate, and you win your team a division title, and the other dude who, oh, by the way, was minus 10,000 in the middle of the dog days of July, ends up a wild card, doesn't have any juice at the end of the season, getting chirped again, they lay an egg, go nowhere, and this dude, Raleigh, just because I'm going to be this guy in New York and say lives in the PNW, catches a 17-13 first place L, but most importantly, goes back to his crib with no hardware, and it's another year for Aaron Judge. I'm sick about it. I wish I could challenge Rob Parker to a conversation because throwing it to you, this will never happen again. Mickey Mantle didn't hit 60 homers not having to play catcher from both sides of the plate. This dude goes for 60, wins his division, and walks home like Snoopy.
It's one of the things that bothers me the most about what has happened to the words most valuable player. I do not care what number you can show me that shows that Aaron Judge was, quote-unquote, more valuable to the Yankees than any other. I don't care. What I care is I saw Kyle Raleigh do something that we've never seen done before in baseball. And baseball is older than the state of California.
Thank you. So you're with me. Are you with me?
Yeah,
because
I'm with
again,
you 100%.
It's so boring to give it to Judge and snub, again, this world we live in of baseball, which is very analytics heavy. I mean, we're talking upper division on campus, Martin, numbers that just exhaust the common person. And you're completely ignoring history. It's just, I think it's insulting, quite frankly, the sport.
Like, I don't understand. It's something that happens across all sports now, and it's because people who decided they could never play sports. Like, I also knew this to be true, but I said I was never going to be one of these people who pulls out their calculator and says that's what makes a guy good, right? I just can't justify that. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to see amazing athletic feats. I'll give you one better because you know what else they got wrong? The NFL MVP last year. On top of the AL MVP, it's the same argument, I think. Saquon Barkley should have been the MVP of the NFL last year. He took 100%. A team that was setting records, all types of things, was easily the best player on that team. And you look at the way the team is playing now, they can't score at all, in part because Saquon is not having the year that he's having. He unlocked everything for the Eagles and should have been the MVP last year. We have to get back to awarding amazing feats as opposed to amazing players.
Well said, and to put a button on it, it'd be metaphorically like Mahomes gets it again this year as a wild card team, because that's what Aaron Judge was, instead of a dude that did something for his team that hadn't been done in quite some time in the city that he played in. Oh, by the way, and was historical at his position. It's just ridiculous. I don't even know what to say, man. I mean, it's...
And I'll leave it... here, I'll say it like this. The chances that Aaron... Like, if you were to ask me right now, will Aaron Judge win another MVP or will Kyle Raleigh ever win one? I would say Judge win another MVP. If you were to ask me right now, or at this point last year, will Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson win another MVP, or will Saquon Barkley ever win one? I would have said absolutely not. So we should, like, the idea that we're taking away from somebody, they'll have plenty of chances. Plenty of opportunities.
But, yeah, what's on your mind? Because I had to get that off. I appreciate you rocking with me.
What's on my mind? I saw you go viral this weekend.
Shedeur?
As we saw what you deem to be quarterback malpractice in Cleveland. Ian, you want to set the table as to what all happened in this game?
Yeah, guys. So in the Browns game this past weekend, Dillon Gabriel, who's been their starting quarterback, he's a rookie. He was a third-round pick. He got knocked out of the game with a concussion, had to enter protocol. So in comes QB2, Shedeur Sanders, controversial fifth-round pick, polarizing guy, polarizing player. But he came in, didn't look great, even by his own words. He didn't look great, didn't think he played very well, but just want to get your guys' thoughts on it because, Alex, I know you were getting pretty fired up about the position that they put Shedeur in.
Look, I know I just took the mic, but since Martin teed it up,
Go for it, buddy.
I noticed, again, some just very coordinator energy, Martin, by Stefanski, who completely made it about himself, and I've already done a rant on it, but he absolutely drew attention to himself in a negative way, and I plugged the Wedding Crashers rule number 6 for it. And you don't talk to your quarterback, dude, on 4th and 5 in a timeout with the game on the line in enemy territory? Are you out of your gourd? I was going ballistic. And oh, by the way, I had the Ravens live on a pick'em great value dip because I knew what was going to happen. But I didn't think I'd be sitting here pointing out something that it wouldn't have gone viral, Martin, if other people didn't see the same. You sit there, and my example was Vrabel snubbing May, Peyton not talking to Nix, Herbert not communicating with Harbaugh. It'd be one thing if Stefanski was a defensive coordinator. This dude calls plays. This dude is the quarterback. I'm seething about it. It's so far beyond. It's just all the infrastructure of the Cleveland Browns, my man. I could go on another rant, but I'll give it to you because I want to get your thoughts. I just couldn't believe Shedeur couldn't communicate in a completely emergency situation, by the way. No first-team reps, no preparation as a normal. This dude was not September third-string Flacco in it. This dude's backing up Gabriel on a freaking important divisional Sunday game. I was laughing because it's like, oh my God, this dude Stefanski with his chiseled little beard thinks he's more important than the game.
So, first of all, you've hit on one thing that I really, about head coaches, that sometimes really sets me. If your hair is too perfect, I'm looking. What are you doing throughout the week?
You, man.
I'm looking at you, Matt LaFleur. Secondly, I am almost there with you. I'm not there yet. He came in at halftime, and if you just – I understand that Shedeur Sanders is the most popular backup quarterback in the history of backup quarterbacks. But it's like I said before, Shedeur Sanders is very much like Kim Kardashian, famous off the name and a 30-second highlight tape at this moment in time. At this moment in time. Now, post-Kanye Kim, she turned it into a whole different thing, and now she's getting people out of jail. She's sitting with the president. Whichever party you sit with, she sat with all of them, okay? Now she's a big deal. This is the moment in time now where Shedeur is QB1 all week, okay? All of the conspiracy theories that have been bubbling around, they're true for just about every backup quarterback in the NFL, right? They're not getting first-team reps. They're not getting the attention. And you know what else? They're just not getting asked about it. That's the difference. But now, your QB1 for the week, like predicted on this show and others, Dillon Gabriel, shocker at 5'9", 165 pounds. His body did not make him through the rest of this season. I want to see now how they look with Shedeur playing this whole thing out. Because like I said, I think I said it last week or the week before, it's concerning that we're not hearing about how well Shedeur is playing with the practice squad. It's concerning. We should be hearing that by now by the way that Dillon Gabriel is playing starting quarterback. So now, these next 4 quarters to me are massive for Shedeur and massive for Stefanski.
No, you really pose a good point. It's a lot of let's sit back and wait. I just couldn't believe it. It's like, yo, if we're all studying body language, it's so impossible to defend. You don't communicate with your quarterback in a timeout on 4th and 5, dude. I mean, your thoughts on that before we move on? Both of you. I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
I think it's a terrible look. But again, I will see what happens next game.
Is Stefanski,
Dude,
let me ask you, is Stefanski even rooting for this? What is the work week like if we could be a fly on the wall in this freaking locker room against, by the way, a team that Dak sizzled up in half a freaking workday on national television last night? A horrendous team he's going against. He should be in a position to succeed, pending Stefanski doesn't root against his very own team.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Alex. I wouldn't go as far to say as he's rooting against his own team or he's rooting against Shedeur, but I really do get the sense that Stefanski isn't a Shedeur fan and doesn't necessarily, like, he's not necessarily rooting very hard for Shedeur to succeed here. I think we all can kind of agree that ownership was what forced them to draft him. Either that or Andrew Barry or whatever, but the point is he wasn't Stefanski's guy. That was Dillon Gabriel. And I think he's being defiant about it. Like he's not taking the high road and saying like, okay, I'm going to try and make both these guys work in whatever situation. I obviously don't want to speak on Stefanski's behalf, but that's kind of my read on the situation there.
My final point that I'll make on it is I think that Stefanski was a Dillon Gabriel guy. And I think he was not – I don't know if he was in, out, or indifferent on Shedeur Sanders, but I know he drafted Dillon Gabriel 2 rounds before he drafted Shedeur Sanders and has given Dillon Gabriel every single opportunity to succeed.
Because he doesn't want to –
He also –
do you think that's what I'm saying?
He also acknowledges that Shedeur succeeding makes life harder for his guy in Dillon Gabriel and makes it harder for him to succeed and be the guy in Cleveland.
You have to
immediately – If Shedeur looks remotely competent.
Yeah, don't you think you have to pick? But now the football gods have picked for you. So that's what I'm saying. Stefanski lost his guy, didn't want anything to do with this guy, and now he's starting. Unbelievable. And just tipped his hand and showed everyone he doesn't want anything to do with him with a game on the line.
That's where it goes too far for me. I don't know if he wants nothing to do with Shedeur Sanders. Like, at this point, he needs somebody to throw an arm. And to the point, they did move off of Joe Flacco. They had a guy in their room that they could have had. And so
But couldn't he just be this guy, though, Martin, real quick, that would just sit there and go, I've already had 2-time coach of the year, worked with 6 quarterbacks, could care less if it works with Shedeur. It's not me, clearly. Look at my resume. I'm just going to let this kid just go out there and fall on his own face.
I just think that'd be insanity by an NFL head coach.
Dude, on some level, I feel like we saw a little bit of a preview of it in that fourth quarter by no engagement. And there were people that commented. It would be one thing if there was no proof. Flacco's got his arm around him like they're buddies on a Saturday night. I mean, there's like 4 quarterbacks that are like face-to-face with this dude communicating. And he sat there like this and didn't look. I mean, you're an embarrassment to men leading at this position in this league. That's how angry I was about it. And I was on the Ravens.
Going over to college football for a second, Lane Kiffin, he's the head coach at Ole Miss, as you guys know, and he's been a popular name on the head coaching market with vacancies at Florida and LSU. And this past week, actually just yesterday, I believe, he was seen in Baton Rouge getting on a plane, and he was in a whole disguise. And he was there allegedly to tour the city and tour the school. But what do you guys think? Do you think Lane Kiffin ends up staying at Ole Miss? Do you think he ends up being the next coach at LSU or Florida? What do you think? How do you think this plays out?
I think Lane Kiffin stays at Ole Miss. I think he's got one of the best jobs in the nation because of you can recruit high-level talent and you have not necessarily the highest level expectation. Mark Few said this to Colin Cowherd on The Herd, and it's always stuck with me. Now, Mark Few obviously has never won a national championship in college basketball, but you go down the last 30 years, easily one of the more successful coaches in college basketball. He's in Gonzaga, up there in the Pacific Northwest, Kyle Riley land. Nobody knows anything about it, right? It's the middle of nowhere. He says, I can recruit guys that I could not recruit if I coached at Duke. Because if I recruited these guys at Duke, the story of them coming in, they're never going to get the chance to grow. Lane Kiffin benched a starting quarterback this year. For the D2 transfer from Ferris State, right? You can do that at Ole Miss. But you can't, you know what you can't do? If you're LSU and you got Bryce Underwood, you can't bench him. You got to figure out how to make that work. And the thing about being at a school like LSU, you can afford the Bryce Underwoods. You can afford the Arch Mannings. And you got to make those work.
No, you pose a good point, but let me just throw this at you. It'd be one thing if Kiffin was this dude that didn't kind of exhibit a little bit of a celebrity aura to his position. There's some guys that are just football coaches. There's other dudes that I feel are a little bit of both. They're a salesman. They're a little bit of a, performer and play up the part, goes on a lot of fun shows, does a lot of press, and has had like 9 football lives. By the way, gone to USC, coached the Raiders for an hour, went to Tennessee. It's like, he's done all of those things. Why wouldn't he just do it again? That's Lane Kiffin. Like, where is this Mark Few loyalty in his life? I don't see it. I feel like he's an he's an opportunist. Only reason he wouldn't is he's like, as a family man, a piffin, I would like on the open market bet this dude's going to LSU if there was action on this rather than stay.
See, but that's the reason why I say if I were him, I would stay at LSU because we saw. No,
you mean stay at Ole Miss?
Yeah, right. Stay at Ole Miss because we saw
right.
what happened at USC.
You pose all the right reasons.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
I'm like, you're absolutely right. He has a better life, more power, more hand to some degree at Ole Miss as far as say, like the quarterback's backup thing you mentioned to. But at the same time, I just don't know if he can ignore the lights in the billboard, metaphorically speaking. Bring him back to Hollywood. I just imagine
because a guy who's seen those billboards, like he was the head coach of the Oakland Raiders, right? And he saw that work. He was summarily fired, right? And he's clearly got a strategy of winning at Ole Miss. He's had now Matt Corral was drafted, Jackson Dart was drafted. He's and just in his time, the A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Ole Miss, like that was the Lane Kiffin's offense. He's figuring this thing out in terms of Ole Miss. And right now, another thing is with the college football playoff, you can be in an Ole Miss, lose 2 SEC games, and make it every single year. Do you know what I'm saying? So, like, he's got a better shot at winning a national championship with less annoyance on the other 364 days of the year than he does at Ole Miss, than he does at Florida, than he does at LSU. Because LSU and Florida, they we need to win, and we need to win this thing now. And I did find it fascinating, Kim Mulkey saying at our press conference yesterday, said Lane was in Gainesville. So it's like this picture that we see is like, it's just so very college football because it could be Lane, it could not be Lane, but you know what it is? It definitely made Mississippi say, you're going to let us know after the Egg Bowl what you're going to do, buddy.
Before we move on, to throw it to both of you, 2 thoughts. Is he going to stay at Ole Miss if he does because it's an NIL world and the cachet of LSU 7 years ago, 10 years ago, and the Saban era wouldn't be the same as it is today because it's kind of fair game if you can raise the money and bring the recruits. And then secondarily, if you guys were betting on this, would you bet he stays or would you bet he goes?
I'm 2 for 2, Ole Miss. I'm staying and I'm betting it. Ian?
Well, he actually did. I was about to say that he did deny the Egg Bowl thing being that he said they never did set an ultimatum for him. So we don't know whether that's true or not because he denied it. But I think there's 2 different ways of looking at it because there's what you think he will do and what you think he should do. And when you're looking at what you think he should do, I'm with you, Martin. I think he should stay at Ole Miss because he's been there. He's establishing a culture. He's got a nice recruiting pipeline. He's always killing it in the transfer portal every single year. And like you said, you can lose 2-3 games a year and not have to worry about your job security. No, he's not going to get fired from Ole Miss. But what you think he will do, he was in Baton Rouge. Like, that hasn't been denied or disputed. He was there. And to me, if you're entertaining those in the middle of a season where your team are theoretically in contention for a national championship, you're entertaining the possibility of leaving. Like, this is something he could have done after the season. Maybe the jobs wouldn't still be open, but he's at least very interested in those jobs. So to me, I think it's the old saying, like if you're in marriage and you start talking about divorce, you're already divorced. At that point. And Lane Kiffin, if you're already entertaining these other options, I think he's already out. So I would bet on him leaving at this point.
I feel like Martin's spot on with all the reasons to stay. He ain't Mark Few, man. This dude has dated around town, across the country to go date in the NFL and came right back to date again. He's a serial date. He's a serial head coach. He's loyal. He's just a dude that strikes me as he's loyal to him. Having said that, that's why I wanted to ask the NIL element because it's like, oh man, this guy could set the barometer for, like, you don't have to be at a top 5 powerhouse, with Ole Miss is absolutely not when you talk college football, 5 teams when you think about them. But he could have the most power in this NIL world of anybody, and is that appealing?
I mean, it's only so much money. You can only have so many millions to spend, right? Like,
Yeah,
I think as long as you're
let's say
available
the
to be
money
in
was
on
the
guys,
exact
then you
same.
should be.
What if he made $15 million next year in Ole Miss or $15 million at LSU? What do you think he
I'm
picks
staying
then?
in Oxford, and I have a shot. I'm calling my shot. I think the next head coach of LSU football is the current Lions defensive coordinator, Kelvin Shepard.
That's a lot of fun.
All right, well, to move on here, guys, shift gears back over to the NFL. After falling to the Broncos, the Kansas City Chiefs are now 5-5. That's actually the first time in the Mahomes era that they've lost back-to-back games multiple times in a season. Yeah, this has been definitely
Crazy.
a step back for Kansas City. But just want to know what you guys think, because they have Indianapolis coming up next on the schedule. They're at legitimate risk here of dropping to 5-6, and if they drop to 5-6, they're at real risk of missing the playoffs. So, what do you guys think? Do you think they ultimately do miss the playoffs, and kind of whose fault is this season? I feel like there isn't really one thing you can point to, is there?
I would say, in terms of whose fault this is, really Brett Veach. Because here's the thing. That Chiefs team offensively is devoid of a true difference maker. And I understand that Travis Kelce was a true difference maker, but that's been about 25 games since he's been an impact player in the NFL. And I'm not saying you got to take him out the lineup, but it's been about 25 games since you were really worried about Travis Kelce ripping you for 160 plus, right?
Fair.
They keep drafting these small, the McCole Hardman, these Hollywood Brown, or drafting or signing these small, Xavier Worthy, fast receivers, where, to me, a guy like Mahomes, Mahomes wants to take shots, he wants to throw the ball up. Like, A.J. Brown is who I'd be targeting if I was a Kansas City Chief, right? Like,
that's flashy.
Well, a big body guy who can go and win on one-on-one coverage. They don't have that right now. And when they were the most successful, even with Tyreek Hill taking it off the edge, it was Kelce being a big guy who could win one-on-one coverage. That's the biggest problem with them right now. Defensively, I don't see the biggest issue. But Kareem Hunt was this team's starting running back in 2017. He's this team's starting running back today. Travis Kelce was this team's starting tight end in 2017. He's their starting tight end today. Juju Smith-Schuster was their starting wide receiver in 2020. He's their starting wide receiver today. They're not good enough.
I'm pulling up the numbers here as I was looking down at the schedule and also pairing it with win totals and for division. Division, they're 5-1. Plus 500 at this very moment. To Denver, you got to lay over $200 to win 100 back. To make the playoffs, and this is per FanDuel, minus 205. What a time to be patient, gentlemen. Wait a week till they lose to Indy if you're feeling pessimistic about them, and then bet that at a much different number. Because 5-6, I imagine they're all of a sudden, as I also have their schedule pulled up, still having the Texans, no cakewalk, Denver one more time, and the Chargers at Jerry's World, not a free W either. How do you not even consider going the other way? Now, missing the playoffs, to get your thoughts on it, if you guys were going either way, plus 164 at the moment.
I think I would still lean to bet make the playoffs at 205. But they're not winning the division. Denver,
But do you
to
think
me,
they're
has
going to beat
stranglehold on
Indianapolis this week? Let's start there real quick.
Stranger things have happened. I wouldn't be shocked.
They have 2 weeks. They've been off 2 weeks for Steichen, and the number. I was looking at points for, points against. They're the number one team by a mile. They're dominating on both sides of the coin. They have 2 weeks to prep. I mean, it's an interesting thought of where to go with this team. I like to think
all season,
don't bail on
all season I've been kind of operating under the premise of until I actually see them not make the playoffs, I'm going to pick them to make the playoffs. But I feel like this game upcoming against the Colts, this is the game where if they lose it, I'm officially picking them to miss the playoffs. But until I see that, I'm still picking them to make it, but this game this is the absolute must-win for them.
Martin, what are you picking? Are you picking them to beat Indianapolis this week?
I'm looking at it right now. Indy plus 3.5 on the spread makes me feel like I'm going to take Indianapolis plus 3.5 and expect Kansas City to win a field goal game.
Dude, this is riveting, gentlemen. Absolutely riveting what we're looking at.
It really comes down to, and normally you can just make this bet. Head coach, quarterback, which one's better? Which one of those pairings do I get the better pairing with? And that's pretty much going to be consistently with Kansas City. But what we've seen this year in the NFL, if you have a quarterback on a reasonable contract and you've built a team around him, congratulations, you're at the top of the league. If you have a quarterback that you've paid $60 million to, congratulations, you're looking at a wild card.
Are you guys dead set on Denver winning the West off the Chargers looking horrendous in Jacksonville? And I had Chargers -3, banging my head against the wall.
I picked Denver to win the West to start the year, and I'm sticking with them.
You did. You got to stick to that. That's well done. Great foresight. Do you guys feel like Mahomes overall, before we move on, has lost his killer instinct? Or do you think the team's drop-off is getting in the way of his brilliance?
I think it's a mix of a lot of things. I'm not worried about Patrick Mahomes in the long term. I'm not looking. No,
neither am I. I just are you we can lay an egg on a year. Like we're fed. Like the Chargers can't win 2 weeks in a row because they're fed off 1 week. The Chiefs are allowed to just mail it in this year. Do you think there's any bit of human psychology to that, as opposed to being a boxer and needing to win every single time? You're just like, we'll miss the playoffs this year. We'll give these boys a rest.
Ian, what do you think?
I don't know. I think when you're in Mahomes' ilk, when you're that caliber of a player and that caliber of greatness, and you've accomplished what you have in this league already, I don't think you can really lose that. I think you can. There's a certain level of player who can kind of stop being elite after a certain point, but Mahomes is already he's transcended that. He's to the point where he's already an all-time great, a lock for the Hall of Fame. I just don't think you can totally lose that killer instinct. It's a fair question though. But just to shift gears here one more time.
They had 2 weeks, dude. Andy Reid off a bye to put a button on it is almost unbeatable. 16 points or whatever it was.
But just the moving over to the NFC North here, the Bears lead the division right now. All right, but the interesting part is when you're looking at the odds to who ends up winning the division, Detroit and Green Bay both have better odds to end up winning. So what do you guys think about that? I think, to me, that tells me that Vegas doesn't think that the Bears are for real, but do you guys think they're for real?
Martin, I know you got a strong thought on this. Talk to me.
Bears did what they needed to do last week, won an ugly game in division. That's what good teams do, right? You can win a game. To me, they won a game 2 weeks ago scoring 47 points. You win a game 2 weeks later scoring 19 points. Okay, you're showing me that you can win games multiple ways. This was an ugly, ugly win for the Bears, but it was a win, and that's what matters right now, right? And I get the Packers have the same story coming out of that Giants game. But to me, watching the Green Bay Packers, they have no identity. They're up and down. And if Jackson Dart had started that game, I think the Giants would have won and the Packers would have lost. I cannot shake that the Packers they cannot get 3 yards on any given moment. They 3rd and 3, they're throwing the ball 40 yards down the field trying to convert, and they don't have a Tucker Kraft anymore. They don't have their number one weapon anymore. The Packers' defense is good, no doubt about it. But when I look at these 3 teams, the Lions have a clear weakness. It's in the middle of their offensive line. The Bears have a weakness. Their quarterback can be erratic. They're still trying to figure all of that out. The Packers' weakness is they're not good offensively. That's a problem.
Do you think Malik Willis not coming in, throwing a little dime to Christian Watson also changes the outcome of that weekend? I was on my show, Giants +7. It closed at 7.5, so I was furious about the push. Live line the whole game was a pick 'em. Vegas was daring you to take the Packers money line. I mean, just fascinating that Willis came in and helped give them. They couldn't do anything in the first half to start the game. I watched it locally, and he came in and provided a spark. Game was kind of a tennis rally the rest of the game, but I'm kind of with you. Do you think, just schedule-wise, Bears, so much good fortune has gone their way? Like, what is your energy on the Bears? Are they a little fugazi because they've just had so much good fortune? Or this is just one of those teams that good teams find ways to win, and they're kind of special in that way?
I think my Bears take is they have 2 games against this Packers team, and I don't know which one is better. Like, they both have big flaws, and factoring in what I said or what you thought prior to the season and still kind of keeping all that in mind, like, the Packers roster defensively, sure, I like a little bit better, but, like, how do I know that Ben Johnson is not a better coach than Matt LaFleur today? He might be, right? Like, just in terms of scheming up and play calling, because I don't know if Matt LaFleur could turn this team, this Bears team, into these winners. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like,
I'm just looking.
They got 2 games against the Packers coming up. I expect, like, I think Green Bay would have to sweep that to feel good about winning this division. Or, like, you know what I'm saying? And I don't see that happening.
I'm just looking at the Bears' schedule. I'm just wondering if this is, again, just because you have the Lions at the end of the season, if this division doesn't come down to the last week and the Bears are hosting the Lions, you got outdoor golf in January. I mean, is there, I guess working backwards, a world where you bet if you were to touch action on the division, the Lions and the Bears, and then just be in that good cash out fortune because your process of elimination taking out the Packers? Like, are you sitting here saying it's probably, if only 2 teams make it out of this division, the Bears and the Lions and not the Packers?
That's what I see right now. And I'm looking at, I get that the Packers are currently leading the division. I do not see that standing through December. And I think you're going to be looking at Bears, Packers fighting for that wild card with 2 games in hand in the last week of the season, or last 3 weeks of the season.
Real quick, is Dan Campbell going to get out of his own way and no longer call plays? That was free money Sunday night. Lions with Dan Campbell and outdoor golf in a raucous Philly environment. Oh, my goodness.
Not kicking at least one of those 2 field goals was absurd. One of those 5.
It's just we're witnessing a team that has almost the same infrastructure as last year, but lost both their dudes. And now Dan Campbell's just, Dan Campbell's calling plays, gentlemen?
I don't have the biggest problem with it. I really don't. But you got to convert on some of those 4th downs.
Oh, man. Ben Johnson was just, I feel like, a marksman and a super special play caller to that personnel. Take away real quick Jamison Williams just taking Quinyon Mitchell on a post crossing pattern and getting a wide open, essentially 80-yard. They couldn't move the football all game. Jameer Gibbs played a little Madden with HB screens. That's it. That's not Dan Campbell.
But I think Dan Campbell. Look at Jamison Williams prior to the Washington game and look at him afterwards. That's Dan Campbell dialing him up. So I get where you're saying, but I'll put it like this: if John Mort was still calling plays, you don't get that explosive.